We are here at the Namibian Agricultural Outlook Conference 2019, where it is under the theme, What to Do After the Drought. And I've got a very special guest with me, Mr. Colin Nott, who's an expert in terms of rangeland and also rangeland recovery.
This is Informante Radio, the sound for a new age.
Colin, in terms of the current condition in Namibia at the moment, we've got a drought. Is there anything that the farmers can do at this particular point in time in terms of their rangeland?
At this particular point in time, we're well into a drought year, and it's not just one season of drought, it's followed on from several seasons in many parts of the country. There is very little that farmers can do now in terms of growing more grass. The grass is not growing, you have what you have. So the strategies that farmers are employing are to use boskos, to harvest bush, and to put that in a mix and to keep their livestock alive. What they have done is, and should have done very early on in the season, is destock as early as possible and take through your productive herd through to the next growing season. And we just hope that we get a good rainy season and that rainy season starts early.
If that rainy season does come, what do you think is the time period in terms for grass to replenish, regrow? How long is that period?
Well, we come from a very dry climate. Droughts are nothing new to the plants which inhabit this environment. So as soon as there's effective rain, you will get germination of annual grasses, and your perennial grasses that are still existing will start growing. Now, what is important when that happens is that you allow those grasses that are growing to recover as quickly as possible so that you don't overgraze them now once they start growing after the first rains. Agriculture throughout the world really depends and is made profitable by the amount of carbon that's in the soil.
Right.
Carbon holds moisture, carbon increases the soil structure, it improves the water holding capacity, and it also makes nutrients available to the plant, which then becomes available to the livestock. So what has happened over time in Namibia is that we had very good perennial grasses throughout most of the country, good perennial grass cover, but through selective grazing over time and often too few animals badly managed, those perennial grasses have been lost and they've been replaced by annual grasses and now bare ground.
Right.
So what has happened is, in those healthy soils you had a lot of microbes in the soil. Microbes are bacteria, fungi, microscopic organisms which facilitate the transfer of nutrients from the soil into the plant. And it is those microbes which have been lost from the soil which we now need to recreate the conditions for those microbes to come back, to improve the soil cover, to create the conditions for perennial grasses to re-establish so we can get our productivity back to what it was. Because our productivity is now a third of what it was even 50 years ago. So if we continue that trend, livestock farming is going to become less and less profitable over time. And the way to get it profitable is to increase soil cover, get your microbes back, grow more grass, and your sustainable stocking rate improves. Microbes eat exactly the same thing that your cows eat. So you have to budget to make sure that you are leaving soil cover in there, and that can be done by adequate recovery periods and planning your grazing in the non-growing season. But there are two other things that can be done as well, and particularly in Namibia. We have 60 million hectares of degraded rangelands in the country, 45 million hectares of which are bush encroached. If your bush is too thick, it becomes very difficult to apply good rangeland management. What needs to be done is you first need to thin the bush to improve the grass's competitive ability with the bush, and then come in with good range management practices which give recovery. The third thing is, if you're living in an area which is mountainous and you have gullies, we need to introduce methods into those areas which slows down the flow of water off the hills, off the slopes, and gets that water back onto the land. What's happening at the moment is water flows quickly off the surface of the land into a gully, into a big river, and it's gone off your land. That is lost productivity. So we need to put filters into the gullies slow that down and get that moisture back onto the landscape, and all these mechanisms together will grow you more grass. Once you grow more grass, your stocking rate will improve, and stocking rate is 8 times more important than any other factor. Sustainable stocking rate. So growing more grass is 8 times more important than any other factor in driving profitability of the livestock farming.
Colin, thank you very much for that information. It's nice talking to you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
This is Informante Radio, the sound for a new age.